David said, man, I was fit to be tired. But read on what he said, woman of God.
Until I went into the sanctuary of God.
Until I went in the sanctuary of God. Go all the way to 18.
Then understood I their end.
Come on.
Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castest them down into destruction.
Not that you're interested in folks trying to be destroyed, but you got to understand something. That God's not trying to get you to want the people to have it to be destroyed, but he just wants you to know, I purposely put them in slippery places. Why? Because the wicked should store up treasures, and the righteous shall have it. They can go and dig all the gold out they want to and do all of that, whatever. Fine. But you walk up right. When the time comes, God will transfer it. I'll put them in places like that. And now this transfer of wealth that's taking place, thanks to God. But God's going to do it to the obedient children. Are you understanding me? Finish it, woman of God. Where are you?
Verse 19.
No, okay, but 18 is where I want you to start. So then I wanted to look a little bit further, so I went to Psalms 37. Look at Psalms 37. Psalm 37, look at verse 1 through verse 5. And I want you to see this particular passage. I said I wasn't going to preach, but I repent. So let me move right along here. So now, verse 37, this is what I was hearing, and even when Pastor Dominic was trying to say, listen, stop fretting. God hadn't forsaken you. He hadn't forsaken me. Thanks God. If I was able to go to that hospital and do what I had to do on Sunday night, it was only God's grace that was on me. And I could walk in that place and walk all the way back. Somebody said, whoa, this is like bringing back. No, God already let me know. Don't you think for 1 minute you had anything to do with me taking my daughter home. That spoke to me. When prophetess Martha said, your grief is done now. Move on. And one thing after the other, one thing after the other. I haven't forgotten my wife, by no means. But I've had to make some changes. I can't pull up my cell phone every day and see my wife or myself there because I go, oh. Lord said, okay, it's time for you to change that now. So I had to make the change. Now I put a good-looking brother up there now. Anyhow, but it was me. It's not no other man. Hey, I felt that come. Wow, another brother? Oh, that was me. I put myself up. I had to make sure I get that straight. I felt that come at me. Like, another brother? Oh, wait a minute. It was me. I put me up there. And so I'm like, hey, bro, what's up, man? All right, so I'm all right now. But anyhow, people, God's grace is sufficient in whatever the situation you're involved with. His grace is sufficient. You got to know that. And you won't know his grace is sufficient until you need it. When John, who was it that said Amazing Grace? It was John Newton. Who was it that wrote? He said, I'm not sure you exactly who it was, but he said it was grace that taught my heart to fear, and it was grace my fear relieved. Grace had that same, the ability to bring fear in your heart. In other words, respect, the reverence to God, not frightened. And it was also that grace that taught your heart to not be afraid, to not fear. You understand? It has a twofold purpose. But we have to understand God's grace. When Paul came before the Lord and said, move this thorn out of my flesh, and on and on and on, and he said, my grace is sufficient. You have to understand God's grace. How about you little shawl girls back there? You still don't hear me. You're so distracted. Ease up now. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Bring it in order. That's right. So what I'm saying to you is God will allow you to go through situations because he's desiring to reveal his grace more than you desire it. He wants you to understand, my grace is sufficient. Let me show you my grace. And he's extending his grace to us all the time, all the time. God's talking, but we're not listening. So therefore, saints of God, this is what's what. So David said, I almost slept until I entered into the sanctuary. You've heard me talk about the difference in entering into the church, entering into the synagogue, entering into whatever versus entering into the sanctuary. When you enter into the sanctuary, you are entering into God's chamber. That's the place where he impregnates you. That's the place where you become intimate. That's the place that you might give delivery. But that's the place of intimacy. That's where you enter. You come in this place, and you can come in here, and you get caught up in the worship, and you get caught into whatever. This is what was happening with Pastor Dominic. He all of a sudden entered in, and before you know it, he couldn't contain it. He had to run up here and grab him up. Why? Because God's talking to me. But a whole lot of people, they just, show up. And you entered into the church house, you entered into the building, but you never entered into the sanctuary.